Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our When in Rome session on localization best practices. You just got an exciting preview of our new localization solution at work in the keynote, and we are so excited to be making it available for all enterprise customers and partners today and for all customers next month. My name is Caroline Wren. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a product marketer here at Webflow focusing on localization and CMS more broadly.
Yeah, and I'm Brett. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the product lead working on localization and working on a lot of the CMS. And yeah, the slide is true. I've been talking about localization so much over the past year, I've somehow taken on the moniker of Mr. Worldwide, but don't worry, I will not be performing the lyrical art of Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, just talking localization, all right?
Too bad. In this session, we'll be covering some best practices for localization and how those specifically informed our approach to our new native solution. But before we jump in, why is localization important to businesses in the first place? Many of our customers have actually been localizing for years. In fact, in many parts of the world, like Europe, it's table stakes to have your site available in several languages. Others might not even realize that there's a huge opportunity for them to expand to new geos. To underscore this, based on research from industry experts, 40% of consumers will not make purchases in other languages. And when content's localized, it receives 12x the engagement of content that hasn't been localized. In fact, get this, over 70% of sites built on Webflow are receiving traffic from countries with different official languages. The takeaway is clear. If your site is only available in one language or locale, you're leaving real leads and real business opportunities on the table. There are multiple ways localization can unlock growth for your business. It allows you to, 1, enter new markets or more deeply penetrate existing markets. 2, gain an edge over competitors that are either not available in your market today or don't have a strong localization strategy. 3, true localization will yield higher engagement and conversion rates, as we just covered with the stats. And last but not least, it builds brand trust and credibility because efforts to speak the language of your customers do not go unnoticed. Now, that's why localization is important. We decided to invest in localization because, as you can see from what we just outlined, it's essential for businesses of any size to be able to take their sites worldwide, and for agencies to be able to support these projects in a way that meets the same high bar as the original site. We also knew that we were uniquely positioned to solve what's historically been a very complex problem in the same way that we've enabled so many businesses to build for the web and really own their digital experiences. Brett, since your team was responsible for figuring out what exactly needed to be built and then getting it built, could you share some insight into the journey to making localization a reality?
Yeah, you bet. So when we flash back and we announced this investment last year at WebflowConf, we knew we wanted to get something in your hands as fast as possible. For product teams, that normally means working on the most simple version. But the reality is that to do localization, we had to build a complex version that had to intersect with nearly every part of the Webflow product. And for you to actually be able to adopt it and use it for your business or your clients, you have to have the ability to localize your entire site, not just pieces and parts of it. But thanks to the amazing, diligent work by our team over this entire past year, that's exactly what we've built. An end-to-end solution that unlocks visual-first, no-code, full localization, all natively in Webflow. And when we say we're launching localization, what we're actually launching is over 30 net new features all wrapped up in this one product called localization. And you see, historically, it's been really challenging for businesses to do localization and to do it well. You know, it's a lot to manage. You have to figure out how to handle each one of these pillars of functionality for your site. And solutions to date, they come with some pretty big trade-offs. Either they're completely developer reliant, or while they might be easier to get up and running, you're compromising in many things from design control to organic discoverability to high overhead costs. And for some, these trade-offs, they're complete deal breakers. So they end up not expanding to new markets at all. What makes Webflow localization so unique is that it solves this problem end to end, not leaving you to figure out how to manage any one of these pillars on your own, from designing and building to translation to publishing and SEO, it's all visual first and without writing a single line of code. To build our solution, we talked to a lot of customers, partners, industry experts about how to do it right. Caroline, why don't you share some of those best practices that we picked up along the way?
Happy to. Now, if you're considering localizing your site or a client site now or in the future, here are 3 key things to get right. First up is tailoring your site design and content to each locale. After all, translation is just one part of the equation. Before you even start, it's important to research design trends and do's and don'ts when it comes to marketing in your target regions. From colors to layout to typography, following these local design standards will yield higher engagement from your audience. For instance, Western countries have trended towards sleek, minimalistic design with more scrolling to get through the content, while some East Asian countries like China or Japan are more maximalist with lots of content packed into shorter pages. Colors can even take on different cultural meanings and connotations. Red may symbolize luck and good fortune in some countries, while evoking danger and caution in others. So that's design. It's also equally important to tailor your content to be the most relevant to the locale, from imagery to blogs to marketing promotions. A very straightforward example is if you're using photos of famous landmarks, consider if there's a more recognizable and proximal landmark for a given locale.
Yeah, that's right. And that was one of our biggest guiding principles as we set out to build this product. Our goal was to take the same powerful design control and customizability that you already have today in Webflow and extend it to your localized sites. And this all starts with setting up and managing locales. And notice we're saying locales versus just languages. A locale is a more granular selection that represents both language and region. That represents, and it lets you customize the experience for users based on their location and their culture. Now, directly in the designer, you're able to add the locales that your business needs, whether this includes broad languages like French, or maybe more regional variants like Spanish Argentinian. And you have full control of which locales get published and when. This allows you to work seamlessly across new locales without disrupting your existing publishing workflows. And as you add locales to your site, these now become distinct views. And you saw Vlad doing this in the demo, where you can switch into that locale and build visually first, making all of your edits prior to publishing. You're also able to customize any content you put on the canvas. In fact, all design, content, styles, and assets, they're inherited from your primary locale. And again, Vlad demoed this, where he was overriding and resetting back to the primary locale, but that lets you customize what you need for your site. And like I said, that's all design elements, images, and you'll even notice in this visual that you're gonna be able to customize styles per locale, which means you may set up global styles for your entire site, but then be able to target into a given locale and override just for that specific use. Traditional methods here, they can be extremely limited. Serving translations live, and you kind of have to hope for the best, then make adjustments while the site's already published. And simply swapping out an image or changing a piece of text, it can be an extremely cumbersome, multi-step process. But with Webflow, it's easy.
On that point, over the past few months, we've had a handful of customers already building with localization in beta. And we've heard time and time again how incredibly simple it is to customize their site from design to content for each locale. Fivetran, an automated data movement platform, is especially stoked about being able to enter new markets and do it the right way with localization without compromising any speed or agility.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been so awesome to hear that feedback from customers all along the way. And, as we've built, this is a large project, and we've talked to customers at each and every point to make sure that we're building the right solution that best meets your needs. And as Caroline mentioned, it doesn't stop at translating just words on a page. Your sites are filled with vibrant visuals. And you need to have that same flexibility to display the most relevant imagery for different audiences. And it should be easy. And with Webflow localization, you guessed it, it is. Customizing assets and alt text is as simple as point and click, just like it is on your primary website. A super common example is if you're using images, let's say like product UI shots. It's now easy to swap in a translated version for maybe one with different words, and you saw Vlad do that in the demo, or maybe just swap to one that doesn't have words at all. Now, let's jump over and talk more about the CMS. At the past 2 Webflow confs, we've announced significant investments we've been making in our CMS, and it's all been leading to this. 2 years ago, we unlocked a significantly faster experience using CMS data in the designer. And last year, we unlocked new levels of scale in the CMS. Those foundational improvements have enabled us to now deliver a fully localized CMS experience. So what have we built? First off, your CMS collections are shared across all locales. So as you set up schemas, reference fields, validations, and more, you only have to do that once, and it's handled for all of your supported locales. And by default, your primary locale content, edits, all of that is inherited for your supporting locales. And for each locale, you actually have distinct CMS items. So this means if you have an event page, let's say it's called Webflow Conf 2023, and you have 2 locales, you actually have 2 distinct versions of that content. One in your primary locale and one in your secondary locale. This means that you'll be able to manage the content, the publishing, even the presence of that item per locale, and you can add, delete, edit, however you want. So maybe you actually only ever want the Webflow Conf 2023 page to be on a specific locale and never on others. Well, that's something you now can easily control. And you see, what's technically happening under the hood is that we've actually changed
I think that's enough detail for right now, Brett, but it is truly amazing to see years of CMS optimizations laying the groundwork for this. Moving on to the second best practice, while translation is just one part of localization, you definitely want to get it right, and that means validating your translated content with native speakers. Explaining this a little further, while AI and machine-powered translation tools can deliver an excellent first pass, most of our customers would tell you that incorporating a native speaker in review cycles is still essential. What they do is ensure linguistic accuracy and cultural relevance, and they can even offer suggestions to ensure that the messaging that you've so thoughtfully crafted in the first place has the same impact in any other language you translate to. After all, it's not just translating words from one language to another. You have to account for diction, syntax, tone, humor, idioms. Your punny marketing tagline can be completely unintelligible in another language, possibly even offensive.
Yeah, that's right. And this very insight led to this next product principle here, which is all about flexibility in supporting translating content how you need to do it. You see, translation management is actually where we saw the most diverse set of needs from our customers and partners. For some, you may just want a tool that does a first pass of translation, gets it going, then bring in a native speaker to revise it. For others, there are entire translation departments in the organization with bespoke review and approval processes. These folks commonly already use a specialized tool where they centralize all of their translations from not only their website, but also all of their other digital platforms. So our fundamental approach here to translation was to give you maximum flexibility and optionality. So no matter how you need to translate your content, you can adopt Webflow's localization. First, we've built native machine translation directly in Webflow. And you saw Vlad doing this in the demo. This means you're able to click on any element in the canvas or field in the CMS or page settings and generate a machine-powered translation in a flash. And you saw how quick it happens, and that can happen for the entire page, that can handle for certain elements or whatever you may need. From there, you can always make manual edits, all visually first, directly in the designer or the CMS.
One of our enterprise partners, FlowPros, recently used our solution to convert 40 mission-critical pages to French and German, their words, in the blink of an eye. As you can imagine, their client was very pleased with how quickly they were able to execute on what was actually their very first localization project.
Yeah, machine translation in Webflow already is really, really efficient. And we're already working on ways to make it even easier to translate entire sites. In any case, it's always super exciting to see our partners expanding what they can do natively right in Webflow. So that's our native translation capability. And like we mentioned earlier, for businesses with more specialized needs than maybe even what we offer today natively in Webflow, you can connect to your third-party tool of choice. And that's where we leaned into the developer community and the apps to make sure we could extend functionality programmatically via our APIs to support localization. And with the recent full launch of our apps marketplace, we're enabling developers to build integrations with our solution, like our launch partner, Localize. And you saw this earlier in the keynote. With Localize, you'll be able to seamlessly export the content from your Webflow locales into Localize, translate, manage reviews, handle that all over there, import it back to your Webflow site, see it before you publish, and then you're ready to go. We also know that for many of you with global businesses, you're collaborating with multiple stakeholders, often across time zones, whether they're translators, copywriters, or marketers. Webflow's growing set of collaboration capabilities is going to help you ship your localized sites even faster. And this includes the newly launched content editing mode, which enables you to grant team members a way to safely localize content, assets, and more natively in the designer. And that also includes the ability to use machine translation. Plus, our new commenting feature also makes it easier to collaborate asynchronously on each locale, like maybe asking a designer to update a localized asset, or gathering feedback from the full team before you ship your localized site. And your team members can do all of this visually.
Actually, when we spoke to our customer Fivetran, this is an area they were especially excited about with Webflow localization. Before, when working across international teams, they would lose days with all the back and forth and different time zones, and now their distributed teams are going to be able to collaborate way more efficiently. Now, that's all amazing, but what good is all of it if your site isn't getting traffic from the right people? This third best practice is all about international SEO and making sure your site is set up for maximum visibility in your target markets. This means carefully considering everything that impacts how search engine crawlers understand your localized sites and how they're all interconnected, from URL structure to sitemaps to page-level metadata and much more.
Yeah, and these are exactly the considerations that informed this third product principle, delivering fully localized and best-in-class SEO. So after you've done the hard work of building your site, you can ensure that the right people see the right versions of it. Today, building a localized site in this area means you have two big sets of problems: managing the localized SEO and publishing and hosting all of your localized sites. And with solutions today, you often have to make sacrifices, commonly on both, or set up technically brittle developer-driven solutions and to make it work even in the first place. But now, with Webflow's localization, we've extended the same robust, reliable publishing and hosting infrastructure of Webflow to your localized sites. And we made sure and tackled SEO for you too, so you don't even have to worry about it. First, we have native customizable subdirectories. This URL structure keeps all of your keywords under one domain, maintaining domain authority and boosting your SEO for each and every locale. Next, we've also upgraded our auto-generated sitemaps to include hreflangs for all pages on your site. This ensures that when search engines, when they look at your site, it knows all of the localized versions of how your content relates to each other and can crawl and optimize it most effectively. And lastly, on the page level, you can fully localize all of your page settings, including slug, SEO titles, meta descriptions, and much more.
One of our customers, Sojourn, is a travel marketing platform. So as you can imagine, it's especially important to their brand to deliver truly localized experiences to their user base. They're thrilled about it all, but one thing they're especially looking forward to is maximizing global traffic to their site with our fully localized SEO that Brett just described in detail.
Yeah, and last but certainly not least here, we've also created a new locale switcher element. So this is actually a new element in the designer. So your site visitors can select what locale they want to see. Not only is this fully customizable right there in the designer, but it also comes with built-in routing functionality. So you don't have to manage it yourself, ensuring that it takes the users to the right version of each and every page on your site. And we have automatic routing options to get your visitors to the right locale based on their browser preferences.
So let's bring it back to our best practices and how Webflow can help you meet the mark on them. First, we talked about how important it is to fully customize not just the words on the page, but the entire digital experience from design to content for your global audiences. And we showed you how our new solution unlocks that all visual first and without writing a single line of code. Second, we talked about the need to validate your translations with native speakers, and we showed you how Webflow enables flexible translation options and visual-first ways to collaborate with others. And third, we talked about the importance of ensuring your site's set up to receive maximum global traffic, and we talked about how Webflow's native localization delivers best-in-class localized SEO. Throughout the session, we shared a bit about the value several of our early adopters are already seeing from Webflow localization, but the reception really has been incredibly positive and validating for us that we built a product that's going to eliminate a lot of pain points and make it possible for our customers to take their businesses to new places, so to speak.
Yeah, and we're so excited to get your hands on it. You know, this is just V1. This is just the start for us in localization. And we're going to keep iterating, expanding, and building on this product to make sure that we can support you for your global business as your business expands and grows.
Thank you so much for joining our session on localization best practices and going a little deeper with me and Brett on why we invested in localization and how we built it.